One of Spain's faces, Andalusian fishermen, old as the Phoenicians. One half the yield of a grudging sea for the fishing master, one half for the crew. And days when there is no fishing at all. To the north, in the Basque Country, a new face of Spain, mirrored in chrome steel, with a new automated look. The face of Extremadura, the Spanish Southwest, and water flowing toward the eager land. Endless and ageless olive groves, marching off in a million columns to wage the struggle for food, fuel, and fertilizer. The resigned face of antiquity, where joy and security have vied with sorrow and despair and made their peace. And the varied aspects of the church. El Greco saw this sol y sombra, sunlight and shadow, and put it to canvas. Toledo's silhouette, climbing on blocks of black and white up to the Alcázar. In bas-relief against the earth and sky of Old Castile. This is one of the 10 principal parts of modern Spain. 10 old kingdoms and principalities, steeped in ancient jealousies and hostilities, separated by mountain barriers, languages, customs, and derivation. Held uneasily together by force, by grudging convenience, and the sobering fact that there's nowhere else to go. The Romans, proprietors and city builders of this peninsula, observed that it lay in the shape and texture and color of an ox hide, drying and bleaching in the Iberian sun. And so it hangs, rigidly impaled from southern Europe, neither of nor in Europe, but in proximity, just Spain. In 1588, staking all on a single throw, Spaniards sailed with 3,165 guns on 132 ships to chastise the English upstart. The Armada's wreckage littered the seafloor and channel beaches, washed up as prize of war the mastery of 3 continents, Europe and 2 Americas. Then, north of the Pyrenees, Europe engaged in revolutions, fought, conquered, lost, beheaded kings, founded new empires, and exploded with new ideas and heresies. Wars, some European and some worldwide, thundered and blazed beyond Spain's frontiers. The Spaniard watched the dissolution of his empire, dreamt of gold and the good life. He borrowed ideas, contemplated new dogmas, joined imported groups and movements, invented some of his own, but played a passive role in Europe. Then, in 1936, 300 years of collected rivalries and old stirrings exploded all at once, and Spain bled. Down the road from Madrid came the Loyalist army, peasants, laborers, intellectuals, and soldiers, to seize Toledo from Colonel Moscardo and his rebel garrison. They paused above the deep-gorged river, looping like a moat around the mountain citadel. Then they went into the river and into the barrage. They died in the cool water. More died on the opposite bank, and still more on the walls, the roofs, and in the narrow streets. Door by door, roof by roof, wall by wall, the rebel defenders fell back and upward to the Alcázar. Both sides executed their prisoners and political opponents. For 80 days, the Alcázar withstood bombardment, siege, and dynamiting from tunnels dug beneath it. Then up from Andalusia came the rebel army to rescue the Alcázar garrison. In the river, in doorways, On rooftops and ledges of wall, the dying was repeated. The siege was broken, and it's said that Loyalist blood ran out of the little plazas of execution, down the gutters, and into the river. The scars have not gone away. The Alcázar is being rebuilt over the years into a Civil War memorial, lest future generations forget. This generation will never forget. When the siege was at its height, the son of Colonel Moscardo was captured and brought to a telephone in the city. The Loyalist commander ordered Moscardo to surrender the Alcázar, else his son would die. The father's pleas were in vain, and from this room and over this instrument, the farewells were spoken, and the boy was told to commend his soul to God and die for Spain. He did. The shots heard through the receiver announced execution of the threat. Much of Spain says this was the cost of rescuing the country from communism. Proof is wanting, but so is disproof. It was also the cost of saving Spaniards from themselves, and prompted the sternest edict of the Franco regime: no Spaniard shall lay hand upon another. That civil war, resolving such uncertain issues at such frightful cost, has seared the national conscience, left homes and hearts with dark memories and darker vows. It accounts for some of the singular uniqueness of this sometimes noble, frequently inexplicable, not easy to manage Spaniard. Partially sealed off in his own peninsula, removed from 350 years of outside shock and crisis, he is compensated with an unconscious cultivation of his own character and personality. He has developed a particularity. The Spaniard invites you to define him, if you must, as he teeters somewhere between 1588 and 1961.
I am very pessimistic about the outlook of people when they think of other countries. In America, most of the ideas about Spain are very limited.
In Madrid lives Dr. Julian Marius, writer, teacher, philosopher, with sufficient intellectual power and prestige that he can sometimes exercise a prerogative limited only to the few like him: criticize the regime. But we sought him because he knows his fellow Spaniard, and this is one of the things he told us.
The average American believes that Spain is a Latin country, that it is, of course, in the southern part of Europe, that there is sunshine, bullfights, that we had or we still have something to do with the Arabs, that we had a civil war 20 years ago, and that its sequels still prevail. Many Europeans think of the United States as if prohibition was still present. Americans think of Spain in terms of 1939. I would say in terms of Marxism versus fascism. But you know, it is hard after all to freeze a country. There have been quite a few changes.
Barcelona, the nation's best seaport. A gay blade, contemptuous of Spain's old world shyness, pushing her toward intimacy with such rakish newcomers as foreign investments, industry, mass production, and technology, trying to turn her head and cause her to forsake her old agrarian, hand-hewn economy. The Spanish worker is quick and eager. Last year, some 35,000 were recruited for short-term contracts in West European factories and mines. The government has made a modest beginning in technological education and training. Some economists say Spain would have been better advised to put this investment into basic industries instead of consumer goods. Spain makes about 40,000 cars a year, but only about 2,000 tractors. Barcelona exudes pace and purpose. It seems to know where it's going. When Spain comes clanging and honking into the age of technology, Barcelona will lead the way. Madrid is something else. Historically the home of the arrogant Castilian, general manager and self-appointed ruler of Spain. There's an aimlessness in Madrid, a preoccupation with trivia. Without politics, debate, criticism, or free comment, there is little else to do. Pursuit of the good life, of leisure, of the heart, good wine and good food, mistresses and courtesans, and a job in the government, providing a style to which the Spaniard can quickly grow accustomed. This golden moment may never be recaptured. Duenas for the children, servants for Senora. Labor is the chief commodity in Spain. But there's an absence of class distinction. Some simply work for others, and with a little luck, others may one day work for them. When a Spaniard has made his economic mark, he's not inclined to reinvest or expand. He leaves his farm or factory in the care of someone else and moves into a new Madrid apartment. He invests in pleasure. Madrid's architecture ranges the phases of Spanish history and the spectrum of taste. The dreaded Puerta del Sol prison in the heart of town, currently familiar to an asserted 6,000 political prisoners. The post office. Government and its plethora of bureaus is another lethargic influence. After 25 years, the ministries have not yet completed their own offices. And the economy is looking up. Spain will have almost $1 billion worth of gold reserves by the end of the year, most of it from tourism. There is change in the air. The old restaurants catering exclusively to writers or philosophers, journalists or bullfighters are gone, replaced by modern cafes, or by a Madrid specialty, the fish bar. Spain's consumption of shellfish is prodigious. If you're squeamish about throwing the shells on the floor, the waiter does it for you with a flourish and characteristic lack of discipline and contempt for rules. And the faces of loneliness or isolation, extremism of emotion, vitality, and passion, individualism that precludes compromise or cooperation, and the need for external discipline by state and church.
In Spain, it is always more important what is said than what is done. Words, 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 we always live on them.
Faces of Carthage, Greece, Rome, of the Goths, Moors, and Iberians. Faces with fleeting admission of austerity and sensuality, explosive enthusiasm and racking discouragement, cruelty and courtesy.